Hi again then guys, and welcome to another special projects build, and this particular build is not a replica, it's not based on any specific real vehicle, it's a custom build, and it's a vehicle which I've built with the intention of going up against some of the cup cars which we currently have on Gran Turismo. There aren't that many cup cars to go for, especially in the smaller hatchback category. You've got the Volkswagen Lupos, the Nissan Micra, or the MMR, and kind of the Hyundai Click, but not really. So there's not a huge amount of options to go for in the cup car market, and although it's not a massively popular segment anyway, one of the appealing things about a cup car is it's cheap. Then add on top of that the fact that you can absolutely fly around corners due to the fact that they have such a small amount of weight and a relatively modest amount of power to deal with, and you've got yourself a potentially really fun vehicle to use on your own, or a fantastic one-make base vehicle. This is inspired by that kind of car. It's the Fiat 500, and specifically is the Fiat 500, not the Abarth dealership 500 version. Now, this is not as quick a car, but that's one of the reasons why I chose it, because like with the Nissan MMR and also the lower version of the Volkswagen Lupo used for a cup car base, you don't necessarily need the top-of-the-line version to have fun with the concept of a cup car, which is why I went for this model. It has that more understated, more budget, entry-level kind of look to it. Now, as far as the visuals, you do have some options. You've got rear wings to go for, you've got body kits, you can change the wheels, of course, and you could do whatever you want as far as that goes. I've actually opted to leave it visually stock, for the simple reason that most of the other cup cars are pretty close to stock. The only changes generally are that they are lowered and they have livery. The only one which really is a little bit different is the Nissan MMR, because it has a chin splitter as well. So you could go for the body kit if you want to. I've just opted not to on this particular occasion. As far as the colour, I've gone for Rally Yellow, which comes from the new Chevy Camaro, but of course you can go for whatever colour you want. So we'll go first of all to the mechanical side of things, then we'll take it of course out to a racetrack to see if it's fast, if it's fun, and if it's useful. Now, this particular build is of course not going to be as full-on fast as some other tunes which we've done, both replicas and customs, because neither of the Volkswagen Lupo cup cars, the Nissan, the Hyundai, etc., they are all slower hatches, even though they do have more power. So as far as the tyres, I've gone for racing hards. You really don't need racing tyres on a car like this, so if you want more of a challenge, if you will, although it's not really challenging, you could go for lower tyres. So just go for whatever you want. I fitted racing tyres because I wanted it to be a small race car, so it's part of the whole package basically. You certainly don't have to do that though. Likewise with the brakes, it's a cup car that I'm going for, so I did upgrade those. As far as suspension, I've actually got the ride height a little bit different from front to rear. As you can see, we've got it as low as possible on the back, but then actually 15mm higher on the front, and the reason for that is because this car, like some of the Mini Coopers, has a tendency to have the nose lower than the rear of the car. So if you want that, you could just lower it all the way, but personally I like my cars to be more level as far as ride height goes, and that's the reason why I've done that. Springs have increased a fair bit to 750 and 450, dampers and anti-roll to 4, we've got neutral camber and tow, and you really don't need it on a car like this. You could go for it if you want it, but it's just not necessary. We'll come back to the gearbox in a second. I've gone for the twin plate clutch because you just don't have as much power and torque to deal with. As far as the diff, we've got the lowest initial torque, highest acceleration and lowest braking, but as always feel free to change those if you want to try something different, or if you already know a different setup that works better for you. As far as power, we do have an oil change, so of course you need to bear that in mind, and then as you can see I've fitted everything except the turbo and also the cat, because basically those two put it into PP territory which isn't really suitable for a car like this. It makes it a little bit too good against the other cup cars. And as far as the weight, we've gone for the full weight loss package and then added 1 kilo of ballast, and the reason why we've done that is because, as you can see, it makes the difference between 400 pp or not. And then I've personally put that ballast all the way to the rear, which surprisingly actually does change the weight split of the car to 6139. And finally, for the gearbox, I would recommend a auto setting of 149 because, of course, it's not a full-on top-end performance car. For the individual gears, we've got 3.2, 2.1, 1525, 1175 and 950 with a final drive of 3. So a pretty simple build, and of course, by the nature of it being a custom, there's endless variation. You can change it if it's necessary to what you want to use it for, or if you just want to try something different, etc. So, now let's, as we always do, take it out to a racetrack. Now overall, of course, this car isn't going to blow anyone's mind, it's just not that kind of performance car. It's more about being fun, fast through the corners, the kind of car which you can have a lot of fun with and drive quickly even if you're not necessarily the most skilled or experienced of drivers. That's kind of the vibe that all Cup cars have. They are cars which aren't anywhere near as quick as traditional or mainstream race cars, but it's still at the same time a highly competitive form of racing, because when all the cars are the same, regardless of how quick they are, you can have just as heady a competition between the drivers, because once you level the playing field, it really does become more about the skill. And that's the beauty of a car like this. You can do, in effect, a similar thing to Formula 1, but on a much lower budget with much more beginner-friendly vehicles. So if you decide to use it for racing or just a bit of fun, either way I hope you find it, of course, fun, first and foremost, and potentially useful around the track in races or seasonal events as well. But that's it for this particular build, and I'll see you guys next time. But for now, as always, thanks for watching.